Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to take complex stuff and really boil it down for you.
That's the plan.
Today, we're pushing further into our series on the MPEP, the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure.
Yep. Think of it as our audio guide through the maze of U.S. patent law.
Designed to help, patent pros, students, really anyone trying to get a handle on these principles.
Exactly. Clear, concise summaries, that's our goal.
And today, we're hitting Chapter 2100, Patentability. Specifically, Section 2116. This one's about novel, non-obvious starting materials or end products.
Right, and how they play into obviousness under 35 U.S.C. Section 103. It's a bit of a tangle.
Before we jump in, though, a quick word of thanks.
Oh, absolutely. To Mike Shepard.
The creative director behind this whole MPEP audio series.
Yeah, his vision really made this happen. Couldn't have done it without him.
Definitely. Okay, so Section 2116. The core issue seems to be, well, if you use a brand new material in a process, or your process makes something totally new, does that automatically make the process itself patentable? Non-obvious.
Or, the flip side, if the product is old hat, is the process automatically obvious? And the big headline from Section 2116 is, no easy answers, no shortcuts.
So no per se rules, as they say.
Exactly. Forget rigid formulas. The courts and the USPTO insist on a deep dive into the facts. You have to look at the entire claim, compare it carefully to the prior art.
Okay, so just because my product is groundbreaking doesn't mean the method I used is necessarily patentable.
Correct. That novelty doesn't automatically shield the process from an obviousness challenge.
And the reverse. Making something known doesn't automatically doom the process claim either?
Not automatically, no. It all hinges on the specifics laid out in that claim. Examiners need to look at the whole picture, every limitation.
This is where those landmark cases come in handy, I bet.
Definitely. The MPEP highlights a few crucial ones, like In re Ochiai and In re Brouwer.
What was the main point from those two?
They really pushed back against simplistic thinking. The Federal Circuit basically said, look, you can't just declare a conventional process unpatentable only because it happens to use or produce something non-obvious. You've got to consider all the claim limitations, especially, the parts describing those novel materials. It's about the invention as a whole.
Right, the whole claim, not just the start or end point. So let's get concrete. The MPEP gives examples, right? Like, in re Durden, that sounds like a case where the novel materials didn't save the process.
Durden is a perfect illustration, yeah. In that situation, you had starting materials that were patentable and products that were patentable.
So new stuff going in, new stuff coming out.
Right. But the court still said the process itself was obvious.
How? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, the court looked at the how. The actual steps, the chemical reaction mechanism used to get from A to B, that was already known. It was a standard, predictable method.
I see. So even with shiny new ingredients and a shiny new result, if the recipe itself is old,
the process claim might be rejected as obvious. The takeaway was, if your real invention is the new molecule, claim the molecule. The old process used to make it might not fly on its own.
Okay, Durden sets one boundary. New materials don't guarantee process patentability if the method is old. But what about the other side? When does the new material matter for the process? That's
in re Pluterman, right?
Exactly. Pluterman shows the contrast. Here, the invention was a method using a specific, novel silane coupling agent.
And similar methods using other coupling agents were already out there.
They were. It looked like just swapping ingredients again.
So why was this process patentable?
Because, and this was key, the claimed process required that specific novel compound. It wasn't just interchangeable. This new agent was essential for the process as claimed to work.
So it wasn't just incidental, it was integral. Precisely. The court saw its use as a material limitation. Think of it like inventing a new kind of yeast. If you just use it in a standard bread recipe, that's maybe like Durden. But if your new yeast needs a totally unique proofing time or temperature to work, and you claim that specific process with the yeast.
That's more like Pluterman. The novelty is tied directly to the claimed steps.
You got it. It's about how integral that novelty is to the process you're actually claiming.
Okay, that distinction is clearer now. And there's another case, in recool, catalytic cracking.
Right, cool. Another important piece of the puzzle. Catalytic cracking of hydrocarbons, generally. Old news.
But the catalyst was new.
Exactly. They used a novel zeolite catalyst. The process type was known, but using this specific new catalyst wasn't.
And the court said?
Patentable. The process using the new catalyst was deemed non-obvious.
What was the core reasoning there?
This is crucial. The court stressed that you absolutely cannot use hindsight. You can't judge obviousness based on knowing about the novel catalyst itself.
You have to put yourself back before the invention.
Yes. Ask, would someone skilled in the field, before knowing about this new catalyst, have found it obvious to use it in this process? The answer was no. So the process was patentable. It really reinforces that no hindsight rule.
So putting Durden, Pluteman, and Cool together, it really hammers home that it's all about the specific facts, the claim language, and how that novel element functions within the claimed process.
Couldn't say it better. No automatic answers.
And this flows right into claim construction, how claims are interpreted.
Absolutely. The MPEP points out that if your claim mentions a novel or non-obvious product, whether you're making it or using it, that language is considered material. It's a critical part of the claim for the obviousness analysis.
And that's not just like a wording technicality. It has real teeth.
Oh, definitely. It directly affects how examiners and later maybe courts evaluate patentability. It shapes the scope of the patent, right? It's fundamental.
So let's wrap this section up. What's the absolute key message from Section 2116?
The bottom line is, when you're looking at a process claim involving novel or non-obvious materials, starting, ending, doesn't matter. You cannot rely on simple rules or assumptions for Section 103 obviousness.
No shortcuts.
None. You have to dig into the specifics of the entire claim, figure out the role of that inventive material, and consider the context of the prior art. It demands a detailed, fact-specific, case-by-case analysis. No formulas.
So for you listening, the big takeaway. If you encounter a process involving something new in Chapter 2100 territory, stop. Don't jump to conclusions about obviousness. It needs that careful claim-focused factual breakdown.
That's the heart of it. Remember that contextual assessment.
Okay, that brings our deep dive on Section 2116 to a close. Just one piece of the MPEP, of course.
The big puzzle.
We'll be back with more deep dives into other sections soon.
Definitely stay tuned. But first, our standard, very important reminder.
Right.
Please remember, this summary used AI tools like ChatGPT and Notebook LM in its creation. It might have errors or leave things out.
It's for general info and education only.
It's not legal advice, not a substitute for proper training. For the real deal, the authoritative source, you need the official MPEP itself. Or talk to a qualified instructor or a registered patent practitioner.
Absolutely crucial. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it clarified this piece of patent law.
I hope so, too.
And maybe something to think about further. How do examiners realistically handle this demand for intense, fact-specific analysis day to day, especially when technology moves so fast and new materials and processes pop up constantly? It's a real practical challenge.